Hello, ladies and gentlemen of algebra. This is Miss Pashauer. We are starting Unit 8 today. And just to confuse you a little bit, Unit 8 starts in Chapter 7. Okay, so we're picking up the second half of Chapter 7 that we did not do in our last unit, and we will then be venturing into Chapter 8 of your textbook after a little bit of Chapter 7. To be honest, most of our objectives for today have to do with vocabulary. Okay, we are going to enter into the world of what are called polynomials. Okay, polynomials is kind of the generic form for what it is we're going to talk about. There are specific polynomials that are called monomials, and I don't have it on there. Later we're going to talk about binomials. So lots of vocabulary today. Mostly we're just going to be classifying things, giving names to things, not a ton of adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. So our first objective is to define monomials, so let's figure out what this is, monomial, and be able to find their degree. Okay, I will explain that to you. We're going to do the same thing with polynomials. What is a polynomial? And find its degree. And then also writing polynomials in standard form. Really super basic, but just so you know, there's a way that the mathematicians do it that is what we call standard that you're going to want to get in the habit of doing. And then lastly, we're going to give names. Okay, to classify is to basically put a name, like I've said here, to name them by two things, by their degree and by their number of terms. Okay, let's get on to it and get started. The first thing we're going to talk about are monomials. And so what a monomial is it's a number, variable, or product of the two. Okay, it can be a number, a variable, or product of the two, those two things. It's kind of separate there, if that's how you want to read it. A number, variable, or product of the two that has whole number positive exponents. If I wanted to give you a super basic definition of a monomial, it's one term. Okay, it is one term. Okay, terms are always separated by plus and minus signs. So for example, I'm just going to write some stuff here off to the side. Something like 2x plus 5. That is two terms. So that is not a monomial. Something like 3x to the second, y to the third, z. It's got a lot of things going on there. But that is still a monomial because there are no plus signs or minus signs. That's what separates one term from another term. So I don't know if you've heard this prefix mono before. That means one. Okay, so we have a little activity in this top red rectangle. We're going to identify which ones are monomials and which ones are not monomials. If you want to stop and give it a try on your own, feel free. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to have these little check marks come up. So x is a monomial. It is one term. 5 is a monomial. 37y, say it out loud to yourself, what do you think? Is or is not? Hopefully you said is. It is a monomial. One term. X plus 2? No way, Jose. That is not a monomial. It has two terms. The x is a term and the 2 is a term. W to the second power is a monomial. Very good. And these last ones are things where we get a little bit tricky. R to the negative 2. Let's try it. What do you guys think? Nope, not a monomial because it does not have positive exponents. And then this one here, 3gh to the second power. You get a lot of stuff going on there, a 3, a g, and an h, but it does not have plus or minus signs, so it is still a monomial. Okay? So hopefully with that you have an idea of what makes a monomial and what's not. To break it down to a simple idea, it's one term, just one term. Next, we're going to talk about the degree of a monomial. Okay? When I give it a degree, I basically give it a number. It can be of the first degree. It can be of the second degree. It can be of the third degree. It can be of the fourth, the fifth. You get the idea. Okay? I'm applying a number to my monomial. And this is basically how you do it. The degree of a monomial is as if I would add the exponents of the variables. If there are no variables, that means your degree is 0 because a number like 3 is 3 to the first power or 3x to the 0 power. I'm sorry what I meant to say there. If you this would be 3 times 1 and the number 1 is anything to the 0 power. It doesn't have to be x, it could be a, b. Okay, so if it has no variable, it's to the 0 power. Think about it like no exponents. No exponents means 0 degree. So I'm going to do a few examples. I'm going to have you guys try. In letter A, I'm going to try and figure out the degree of this example, the degree of this monomial. This is a monomial because it's only one term. It's not something like that. That would make it 2 terms. There's no addition or subtraction. It's just one term. And the degree is, like I said up here, hopefully it took a second to write that down. To find the degree of a monomial, add the exponents of all the variables. It doesn't matter if one is x and one is y, or one is a and one is b. This is just to find the degree. So I have a 2 and I have a 4. So you may have guessed it, the degree is 6. Okay, the number 4 goes back to what we were talking about up here. No variable means the degree is 0. I could stick in an x there and call it x to the 0 power. That might kind of drive that point home. And the last one, I want you guys try that one. Either say it out loud or write it down. Hopefully you said 1. Okay, I could stick a 1 here on this x, on this variable of y, and I would say, hey, that has degree of 1. Okay, so this first slide here is just what is a monomial and how do I find its degree? Okay, feel free to go back and review any of that if you need, but let's move on. Next we're going to talk about polynomials. I don't know if you've heard this prefix poly before. Maybe you've heard it in geometry. Maybe you're thinking of polygon. Okay, a polygon has many sides. Okay, the word poly just means many, a few, some. Okay, it doesn't mean one, but it means more than one, basically. Okay, so a polynomial is kind of the opposite of a monomial, I guess you could say. And it is, right here is an example, not one, but more than one term. This one has 3 terms, to be specific. But a polynomial is going to have anything that has more than one term, several terms. And, oops, let's see if I can slide this over here. Give me 2 seconds. What's happening here is, there we go. Now it looks prettier. If I want to find the degree of a polynomial, okay, so that's my second topic here. First we talked about what is a polynomial. It's more than one term. It's not a monomial. It has more than one term. You could have 2, 3, 4, 5, anything that's more than one. And now we're going to try and find the degree of a polynomial. Okay, so basically you probably want to write this down here. The degree of a polynomial is the degree of the term with the largest degree. Let me see if I can summarize that. This is a polynomial. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. What is the degree of this entire polynomial? Well, it's simply the term with the largest degree. Okay, so this term here has degree 2. This term here has degree 4. This term here has degree 1. And this term here has degree 0. So you basically find the degrees of each monomial, each term that is part of this polynomial, and you look at what's the biggest one. Okay, very simple. So the degree of that polynomial is 4. Look for each specific degree and then find the biggest one, and that's the degree of the entire thing. Why don't you guys try this one? Okay, hit pause and tell me what is the degree of this polynomial here. Okay? Okay, I think you're back. If you are back, hopefully you have the correct answer. I'm looking at this first term has a degree of 6. This second term has a degree of 0. This one has a degree of 4. And this last and fourth term has a degree of 1. So the degree of the entire thing is 6. Okay, hopefully you have that as your answer. And if you need to review, feel free to go back, but I'm going to move on. All right, and I'm sorry, this is a, there we go. Now, we're going to talk about how to write a polynomial in standard form. Okay, nothing super complicated here, guys. It's just getting used to the way we write things. And basically, the monomials, the terms, okay, again, this is kind of like just saying a term. The terms in a polynomial, are written in order from highest degree to lowest. Oof, all these nomials, I'm getting my words mixed up here. Okay, a monomial inside of a polynomial, these terms here are simply written from biggest to smallest, from highest degree to lowest degree. I don't know if you've noticed in your textbook, when we were doing linear equations, we usually always saw this. Okay? We didn't see this, because the 3x has a higher degree than the 5. It's just a convention. It's just a way of doing things. Okay, so if it asks you in your textbook to write things in standard form, I'm looking at this guy here that has a degree of 3, and then this one is 2, and then this one is 1, and then this one is 0. So that's the order that they would go in: 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, why don't you guys take a second, pause me, and try this little example here, writing this polynomial. It's a polynomial because it has many terms in standard form. Okay? Okay, I assume that you're back after hitting pause, and hopefully click me will give me the right answer. And again, it's just what order did you put it in? Did you put it in the right order? Hopefully you did. You might be asking yourself, why is this one before this one? Does it have to be that way? Not really. I mean, this one is a degree 2, and this one is also a degree 2. If you flipped-flop those, it wouldn't necessarily be wrong. Usually we put, if there's an exponent, ahead of things that are two separate different variables, but really those two middle ones could be flip-flopped because they're both degree 2. If there's a tie, I would say just pick one. All right, guys, we're going to keep moving on. And then lastly, this is where you're going to see lots and lots of vocabulary. We have basically given names to all of the different types of polynomials with different degrees. Okay, I think that you've heard this one before. A number that has degree 0 is a constant. That one should not be new. Okay, things like 4, 8, 12, 281. Those are all constants. Okay, that name came from somewhere. It was not something that crazy Miss Bashar just made up. Things that have degree 1. Things that look like y equals 3x. Just one exponent on our variable, which is just 1. Okay, just one variable to the first power. Something like 4x minus 7. Or it could be a different variable. It doesn't matter. Those are all linear polynomials. Linear. We've done an entire chapter on linear equations. Okay, they look like that. And then we just started doing quadratics. Okay, quadratics have a degree of 2. Y equals x squared. Okay, these are just names. Okay, we're just giving names to things. A equation or an equation or a polynomial, just an expression with an exponent up to 3. Or maybe they add up to. Okay, something like this is still quadratic because this has got a 1 and together they make 3. And then anything with degree 4 is called quartic, and anything with degree 5 is called quintic. And then after that, we just started saying the 6th degree, the 7th degree, the 8th degree, and so on. We stopped coming up with special names. Okay, so that has to do with the degree. The degree comes from adding up the exponents on your variables. 4xy to the third would be a quartic function or expression. Okay, and then we can also do is we can also give a name to our polynomial. Did you know that they had so many different ways to name themselves? Very exciting. It's kind of like a first name and a last name. Okay, you got to have more than one name. So we can also name our polynomial by its number of terms. Okay, if it has just one term, 4x, 3y, 7, that is a monomial. We already talked about that. If it has 2 terms, it's called a binomial. I know you've heard of a bicycle. Okay, a binomial has 2 terms. It's made of 2 monomials. And then a trinomial, again, tricycle, 3 wheels. A trinomial is going to have 3 terms. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's just a way of giving names to these things. So when it says classify down here in the examples, all we're going to do is give it a name. Classify means give it a name. And because we have 2 tables, it's got to have a first name and a last name. If you need to stop and pause and write down what's in these charts, I think that's a good idea. That needs to go in your notes just like vocabulary. If you're back from writing that down, let's do some example problems. 5x minus 6. 5x minus 6 is going to be, I like to first start with the degree. Okay, that's more or less the first number, and then the second is the number of terms. Okay, so this one should have degree, what do you guys think? 1, because this is a 0 and this is a 1, so we take the bigger one. We take the bigger number there. The biggest thing that I see in those terms is degree 1, so that's the degree of my entire polynomial. And then how many terms is it? As far as number of terms, it's got 2, so that makes it a binomial. So you'll sound very smart when you tell your parents that 5x minus 6 is a linear binomial. Okay, it is a linear binomial. Why don't you guys try these last two on your own, and then we'll come together. All right, I think that you're back from trying these, writing the names of B and C. Okay, I'd like you to try these on your own to see if you got it. If you didn't do that yet, hit pause and do it now. Y squared plus y plus 4 should have degree. This is my biggest degree, so that's going to be the degree of the entire thing. And so therefore it should be degree 2 with 3 terms. So hopefully you have quadratic trinomial. Okay, quadratic trinomial. And then the last one, it has degree 7. That's the biggest one. So it is a 7th degree. Oof. And because it's 4 or more, we just say polynomial. We don't have too many names there. Okay, so it's a 7th degree polynomial. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you need to take some time and copy those charts in your notes, I would do that now. If you've got it already, you're probably good to go. I'm going to move on, and then I'm going to hit back to my objectives. I just want to make sure you know, do you know what a monomial is and how to find its degree? Yes or no? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you know what a polynomial is and how to find its degree? Can you write them in standard form? And then last but not least, can you classify polynomials? Can you give them names based on both their degree and their number of terms? If you say thumbs up to all 4 of those, you are good to go with your notes. Oops, there we go. And you will be ready for practice in class. Have yourselves a great evening, and I will see you all back at school.